The Black Talk Radio Network is made possible in part with help from the Black Talk Media Project, a North Carolina-based nonprofit engaged in the production and distribution of independent digital black media. Find out more by going to blacktalkradionetwork.com or blacktalkmediaproject.org and look for the menu tab, Crowdfunding Black Media. Black Talk Media Project, helping to provide you with new black media for the new millennium. And opinions expressed by callers, guests, and hosts do not necessarily reflect those of the Black Talk Radio Network and Black Talk Media Project. Black Talk Radio is new black media for the new millennium.
Good morning, good afternoon on the East Coast. We are back. Shifting Paradigms is back. We got moved. Everything's cool. I'm excited about this show that we're going to do today. It was actually suggested to me by a listener, and I apologize, sis, if I don't have your name in front of me right now, but I'd really like you to chime in. Since you were the one that suggested this particular subject, which is that of traditional, ancient aspects of marriage. And we're not talking about westernized marriage by any means. We are talking about, we're going to be specifically discussing polygyny as well as arranged marriage. And I'm going to, It is Shifting Paradigms. I am the host. My name is Sister Zion, by the way. And I'm going to just give some of my, opinions with regard to this, but I'd also like to know what you think about polygyny, about arranged marriage. Is this the way forward for us as a people to go back? Because these customs come from us. They come from our people. Other, nations are utilizing them. However, they come from us. They originated from us, with us. And we've gotten such a westernized mentality with regard to marriage, and it's not working for us. As a matter of fact, it is basically one of the things that is driving us into a genocidal position, where we are actually participating in our own genocide as a result of marrying outside of our people, as a result of just not respecting gender roles, falling into this very foolish and dehumanizing understanding of what gender is, taking on the mentality and the mindset of our captors with regard to what femininity and what masculinity are, instead of understanding what our people knew and understood in the context of the Creator, what femininity and what masculinity really is. The number here is 641-715-3660. The extension is 549032. Hit pound to comment. Hit star 6 and 1. I've actually been researching this for a couple of years now. I like some docudramas. I love documentaries, period. But there are some docudramas that are actually really interesting. And polygyny, we'll get into that a little bit later, but I wanted to deal with arranged marriage, because arranged marriage was just one of those things that I never understood why we as a nation of people never participated in the first place. I remember being a very young woman as a teenager and as a teen, and as a young woman in my early 20s, wanting to be, I would have preferred to have been arranged in a marriage, providing the elder who was presiding over the facilitation of this arrangement with someone who was trustworthy and who understood who I was and who understood who my husband was. So I never had an aversion to arranged marriage, but as I began to actually study it in the context of other cultures, the Hindu Indians, this is very prolific among them. It is also prolific among the so-called Orthodox Jewish people, because they got that from us. That's a custom of the original Israelite people, is to have arranged marriages. But they have taken that on. And the culture that really kind of stood out to me with regard to arranged marriage was who they call themselves gypsies, or they call gypsies. And it's the Romani people, the Romani gypsies specifically. I have researched them for about 5 years now in terms of arranged marriage, and I just like their structure. I like their community structure. I like the way that they do things. And it is strictly for the preservation of their people and their culture. And they have such a respect for who they are as a people that they dare not accept anything too much in terms of Western culture. And I'm going to play some audio from this one show. It's from the FYI network. It is a cable network, for those of you who don't know. But these clips are actually available on YouTube, and it's from a show called Arranged. And this is a young gypsy or Romney couple, and they're entering into marriage by way of an arranged marriage. I want you to pay close attention to what the father of the groom says. I want you to pay close attention to how they speak of each other and how they deal with issues that occur between a couple. And the reason why I want you to pay specific attention to this is because this is how I really believe that our community needs to begin to function. We have to find, and once again, and I preface what I say by saying this, we cannot spend or waste any more of our time struggling with people who have a westernized mentality and trying to convince them that nation building is the way to go. We cannot spend any more time, waste any more time trying to convince people that us marrying outside of our people is not to our advantage. We cannot waste any more time convincing people that creating an infrastructure that facilitates healthy marriages and healthy families is the way for us to go. People who have a westernized mindset get ostracized, and they end up with the results of the Western culture, which is divorce, early death, disease, broken families. That's what they reap. So if that's what they prefer, then we need to leave those people who, among us who feel that way, we need to leave them to that Western mindset. Hopefully, most of them will come around, and they won't have to learn very hard lessons in order to come around. But the light bulb, something will happen, and the light bulb will go off for them, just like it went off for you, just like it went off for me, and they will go and decide that this is the way forward for us. But we cannot waste any more time with the feminists. We cannot waste any more time with the misogynists. with those who believe that patriarchy in the sense of this westernized mentality. And it's really strange to me how a lot of our men have taken on this patriarchal aspect of marriage. Yes, there is a patriarchal institution, but it does not function from the westernized mindset of misogyny that you have implied to it. So I implore you to gain a greater relationship with the Creator, to truly study your scripture in the context of the Ruach, which is the Holy Spirit, so that you gain a clear, definitive understanding of what it is to have a marriage, what it is to respect a woman, what it is to actually honor your wife and to love her as you love yourself. And if you don't, and if you're coming at this from this misogynistic, patriarchal understanding of marriage, you are going to self-destruct and you are going to destroy your marriage and whatever woman you come across. It's really that simple. It keeps happening, and, you know, I'm just a woman. So there are some brothers out there that are not going to listen to me. They probably already turned me off. But at the end of the day, what it comes down to is that we need to understand our proper gender roles in the context of the Creator and in the context of who we are as a people, not now in this country under the system of racism, white supremacy, but who we were as a people, how we functioned as a people before slavery, so that we can reclaim a lot of those customs and a lot of those ways that preserved our families, that kept us, and that caused us to be a great people. The first thing that I'm going to play is basically the Romney couple's name is Christian and Maria, and they're basically just giving insights as to, you know, how they're starting their marriage. The second thing that you're going to hear is the father of the groom, who, you know, because there was a disturbance early on in the marriage, because this is a young couple now, and that young couple had to meet with what was called the Gypsy Council in order to rectify the conflict that had arisen in the marriage. And once again, this is from a docu-show name of Arranged on the FYI network, but the videos are also available on YouTube as well. The number here is 641-715-3660, and the extension here is 549032. Hit pound, hit star 6 and 1 to comment or to ask a question. We're going to be discussing arranged marriage and also polygyny. Polygyny is very interesting to me, because polygyny, we're going to discuss it in depth a little bit later on, but it's been submitted more so than arranged marriage as the way for conscious people to nation build. And there are various reasons for that. We always hear that there are more, and I'm stalling because my browser just went berserk, by the way, so I apologize. But we're going to go ahead and get this together in a minute. But polygyny, and understand that I am talking about polygyny. I'm not talking about polyamory or polyandry. I don't see how those I really don't agree with polygyny, just to make it clear. But I really am not an advocate at all for polyamory or polyandry. Polyamory just basically meaning that you can have multiple lovers, if you will, multiple relationships with people, if you will. Polyandry being that a woman can have more than one husband. I just don't see where that is productive or in any way beneficial for us as a people, either one of those. I really don't see where polygyny is in the current context, and there are reasons for that I will get into later. But and it basically has to do with the acculturation of our people at this point. Our people have been acculturated to a point to where there really is not a lot of respect for the black woman, and the black woman really does not respect the black man, and then black women don't really respect each other. So when you get that type of dynamic together, outside of the fact that I really do not believe that it is congruent with Scripture, and you say, oh, well, the patriarchs, they had more than one wife. Yeah, those patriarchs had more than one wife, and they also were able to support more than one wife. If you are not able to support more than one wife, there is no reason for you to have more than one wife. Get one, and the thing that I guess irks me the greatest, it gives me the greatest sense of angst with regard to polygyny, is the fact that most of the men that seem to be proponents or advocates, especially in the arena of social media, are basically those men that don't even have one wife. And so my point of view has always been that if you don't have one wife, if you don't even have one wife, why are you advocating for more than one? And you don't even have one. So, like I said, and then I've just seen some very tragic arrangements in terms of people who have attempted polygyny, but it just went awry. And that is not to say that I don't know of some people who have polygynous marriages that appear to be working. Let me say that right now, because I do know about three marriages that are polygynous marriages, and it appears to be working for them right now. So with that being said, that's those three marriages. The majority of the polygynous marriages that I know of personally end up in disaster, and it actually has to do with the fact that, first of all, I really just don't believe that we're built for that. I believe in monogamy. I believe that, one man should have one wife and one woman should have one husband. This is what I believe. And with that being said, I just don't see the point. I see the point, but I also know that a lot of men, their eyes are bigger than their stomachs right now. And so because of that, they think that they can handle more than one woman when they can't even get one woman and one household and sustain that one woman and that one household, and that is an issue. This is shifting paradigms. I am Sister Zion. We're going to go ahead and go into arranged. This is Christian and Maria. They are around me, also known as a gypsy young couple, and they're explaining their arranged marriage.
I was 15 when I learned that Christian is going to be the one that I'm going to be married to.
I was about 14, I believe.
I started looking in church when Christian was 14 years old, because that's where usually all the good little girls are, and that's where I seen her. She was 14 years old and she was a pretty little girl, and I guess that's what I was looking for.
I don't think that there's anything wrong with arranged marriages because I'm so used to them. Everyone is pretty much arranged in the gypsy culture, so it's nothing new.
I wasn't in love with your grandmother. We didn't know one another. We didn't talk. But according to our tradition, I had to obey my father and mother. And you know what, Christian? We look at the results. It works. It works.
Gypsy girls just know that you are going to get married at a young age, and your father and mother do pick your husband, and your father and mother do get dowry off of your hand in marriage.
I paid somewhere between $10,000 and $15,000. That's the average price. We pay a dowry for our daughters because, they're going to a new family. And we want them to treat them a little more because they paid for them.
You do have to marry a gypsy boy when you are a gypsy. And that goes with boys too. Boys have to marry gypsy girls. If you marry someone that isn't gypsy, it's just not right at all. You do basically get shunned from your community.
The secret of marriage, my son, is never ever try to change Maria. And let Maria never ever try to change you.
That is so right.
You're just always supposed to listen to your father and mother because they've been through bad times and good times and they know what's best for their children. You just pray that everything works out for the best.
Okay, that was the first audio, and one of the elders even admitted that he was not even in love with his wife when he first met her. And that was okay because as he went on and established a relationship with her, they grew to love each other. And in their culture, because they have a community infrastructure set up of accountability where the husband is accountable and not just responsible for his wife, but he's accountable to the other men in the community. And so if he mistreats his wife, the other gypsy men are going to step in and say, look, this is your wife. That's not how you treat her. And if you don't treat her right, we're going to go ahead and intervene in this situation because we're not going to let you mistreat her. And the same thing goes with the wife. If the wife misbehaves, if she cheats on her husband or anything else occurs, the Gypsy Council steps in and says, you know what, you're not functioning in the office of a wife. We don't think that you're worthy of this man. We're going to ask you to leave. We're going to go ahead and make sure that everything is taken care of in terms of the children. But, you know, you don't need to be married to this person because you don't appreciate them, you don't respect them, and you don't honor them as your spouse. This is what I am talking about because there's no filter, there's no structure in our communities to provide this. And so you have people who get married, and they get married out of these weird, and this is why I hate Western culture, because Western culture is so, they bastardize everything. And so there's this weird, ambiguous love. I fell in love with so-and-so, and now we're going to get married. Please somebody, can somebody please tell me, if you can call me here at Shifting Paradigms and tell me what that means. I mean, really what that means, that you fell in love with someone and now you're going to get married. Please. Let me know, because that to me tells me, first of all, you're going into this relationship purely on the basis of emotion. And it's funny to me how a lot of men have had, at least some that I've spoken to, don't really cotton a lot to arranged marriage. They dig polygyny, some of them, but arranged marriage is so foreign to them that they don't, you know, they have issues with it. And yet arranged marriage is just as scriptural as polygyny, and even more so. And then not only that, there's no emotion. There's none of this irrational, I love so-and-so. The stuff that after 5 years down the road, if you go into financial difficulty, or if something or sickness occurs and one of the spouses or some other crisis happens, that's not what love sustains you, but you falling in love with someone from this westernized mindset is not going to sustain you. And so because there's no accountability, there's no elders who intervene and who say, you know what, this is how it's going to go, and you need to comply. Otherwise, if you break up this marriage on very trivial and menial terms, we're going to put the word out in the community that no one in the community is to marry you. You're not a marriageable person if you don't respect the marriage that you have right now. So this next audio that I'm going to play is the Gypsy Council, because what happened between Christian and Maria, and they are a very young couple, is that Christian, very young, very immature, very silly, decided that he would be he was basically almost abusive in his understanding as to how the money was to be treated between he and his wife, his young wife, Maria. So he would go out and take her money and his money and spend it on himself, get himself clothes, get his hair cut, get everything done for him and not give his wife anything, despite the fact that that's not the example that his father provided for him in terms of his mother. However, the parents were not, and by the way, Maria moved in with him and his family. So because they're very young, they're, for a certain number of years, they actually live, with the groom's family, so that the groom's family is able to then cultivate and help that marriage along for the first few years. I don't know how many years it is, or how long it is, actually. But in this situation, it kind of implodes. It backfires. She has actually been given information from her family that she is to take some money, set it to the side, and so that she can do what she wants to for herself. And so that's what she does. Her Christian doesn't agree with it, and so he then gets upset with her. There's an altercation where she then hits him, and then she leaves because she doesn't feel respected. For fear that he and his brother would be marked as unmarriageable within the gypsy community, his parents then go into action with damage control, and they get the council of elders together to intervene, to place judgment with regard to this, so that this young couple can either end this marriage or rectify this marriage. But I want you to listen to the groom's father, to the young man's father, Christian's father, as he explains how he knows that he is more gypsy than American, and how they do not involve the American court system or the American law enforcement system into their community. They handle things within their own community.
So when I went home to my family was upset, like any other family would. They was upset, but they did tell me, that I was wrong for hitting Christian. Because I did tell them. They believe, and anybody in the world should believe, that violence is not any way to solve anything. Which I do agree that I was wrong, but what am I going to say?
She didn't even tell me where she went. Maria is nowhere to be found. She's left.
My family was very supportive of everything that was happening, but my decision of wanting a divorce, they wasn't up for that. They didn't want that at all. They wanted us to try and work it out. They didn't want to even hear the word divorce. They didn't want to discuss it.
Hello?
Yeah, Dad.
Yeah. How's everything?
Got some bad news.
What do you mean?
Christian and Maria argued and Maria left.
What? Michael, what happened? Why she did this?
Dad, they argued over money, so seriousness.
Oh, my God. That kid needs a good talking to, Michael.
Listen, we have to gather a gypsy council. The gypsy council solves every type of problem. Whatever problem that happens in the gypsy race, the gypsy council solves it.
If two young teenagers, let's say for instance, argued and fought in the street and then you call cops, they're going to arrest both of them. Do we really want our two little young teenage gypsy boys to be in jail?
So we'd rather solve the problem.
I'm going to call the deacons from the church. I'm going to call some family.
Gypsies aren't legally married. We are married in the eyes of God. So there is no divorce court for us. We go to the gypsy council. About divorce, if there's children, we don't have divorce court to share the kids. You know what happens? Usually the mother sees the kids, the father sees the kids.
We'll handle it
between it. Whoever, it depends on the situation.
The mother will take them, and then when the father wants to see them,
the father would see them.
It's like sort of like
divorce
what happens,
court.
But we
do it.
I'm not going to make a move without you, all right, Dad?
All right, Michael. Bye-bye.
All right, bye.
Okay, this is Shifting Paradigms. I'm Sister Zion. We're going to actually, after the break, go into this a little bit deeper because I hope that you were paying attention. So like I said, the father's name, Christian's father, who is the young groom, Christian, his father's name is Michael. I want you to understand what Michael was saying about the gypsy community and how they have certain things in place to solve problems within their own community so that they don't have to go outside to the heathen or the American court system in order to remedy anything, whether it be marriage or any other situation that they may have amongst themselves as Romani gypsies. My name is Sister Zion. This is Shifting Paradigms, and we will be right back in just a moment.
You are listening to Shifting Paradigms with Sister Zion on the Black Talk Radio Network. Have a question or comment? Give her a call at 641-715-3660. Participant code 549-032#. Hit star 6 and 1 to signal the host. And now, back to Sister Zion on Shifting Paradigms.
All right, we are back, and I was just so impressed with this because this is, like I said, I've been researching arranged marriages for about 5 years, and out of every culture that does this, the Romani culture, they get an aspect of this that even the Indians and the so-called Orthodox Jewish people don't even get. And that is that you need to have your own, and they have it to some extent, they just don't have it to the extent of the Romneys. The Romneys really don't care about American culture and American society. They live in it, but they're not of it. They function on their own frequency, doing their own thing. And this is what I want from my people. I want us to function on the Creator's frequency and on our own frequency, to get out of this westernized concept of marriage and everything, because it is so poisoning our homes, it is so poisoning us as a people, and we have to stop. And like I said, for those of us who did it, it's time to move on. What do we need to do now to erect people who are trustworthy, who are led of the Holy Spirit, who are going to then arrange marriages for our people? What do we need to do in order to create an infrastructure so that there is intervention when things don't go right in a marriage, in a home, or in a community? Why, even just in terms, not even in regard to marriage, why are we calling the police who murder us on a daily basis for things that go on amongst our own people? Why aren't we able to police our own people? Why are we trusting our oppressor with any of this to be responsible for us in any respect? It is time for us to flow on our own frequency. It is time for us to flow in our own way, to get off of this, out of this garbage matrix of westernized society and their concepts of who we are. It's time for it to stop. And so that's one of the reasons why the Romney way of arranged marriage really, and not just arranged marriage, just the way that they do everything appeals to me, because I really believe that once upon a time, this is how our people function. We didn't go to outside people to validate us or to do anything. We were a self-contained people, a self-contained nation of people. And we actually at one point had tried to recapture that. But then you had the intervention of the civil rights movement and various other COINTELPRO agencies that came in and infiltrated us during the middle and latter parts of the 20th century, that came in and totally derailed a lot of the autonomy that we could have had as a nation of people. The number here is 641-715-3660. The extension is 549032. Hit pound, hit star 6 and 1 to comment or to ask a question. I really want to know where my people stand, where my listeners stand with regard to arranged marriage and even polygyny. Or if you are a person who is considering polygyny or considering arranged marriage, if you call in and let us know what it is that you're doing, what your process is, who are you trusting with regard to this process, and what's going on, so that we can share our experiences with each other, and somebody else can go and hopefully if the process is working for you, it can work for somebody else. Once again, the number here is 641-715-3660, extension 549-032. Hit pound or star 6 and 1 to comment or ask a question. And this, like I said, arranged marriage. Now, Indian people, to me, out of everyone, it seems to be that they feel that somehow, even though this is their custom, they have the greatest struggle with it because there appears to be a struggle to assimilate more for Indian people. Indian people want to assimilate a little bit more, so you have a lot of the information that I came across with regard to pros and cons regarding arranged marriages came from Indian people because there is a faction of Hindu Indian people who are railing against the traditional arranged marriage institution. And the reasons why is because they feel that they create loveless marriages, they're exploitive, they take away a person's choice. And to some extent, I can see where that happens. But that's why I really believe that if you're dealing with a situation where there's an unhealthy relationship with a parent, and the parent, you don't trust the parent to choose someone who is within that child's best interest to marry, then there should be a council of elders who can then intervene and say, you know what, we understand that you love your child, not become too disruptive. We understand that you love your child, but maybe the person that you want or that you think is best for your child really isn't best. Come here. Let us help you. Let us help you. Because I really think that our people are having the greatest problem with this whole situation because we do not value marriage and we don't value each other. And so that's actually where it starts. We have to begin to value, and we've been over this in other shows, we have to get back to valuing one another as a people and healing ourselves and healing each other. That's why even in the so-called conscious community, if a person is not speaking in terms of healing our people, and the only thing that they're concerned is with their agenda, then I really don't have too much for them. Because at the end of the day, we need to be healed. Our mindsets need to be changed. And we need to return back to a lot of the ways that made us great as a people. I want to also, whatever you think about Dr. Umar really has some very, very good, he makes some excellent points with regard to both polygyny and arranged marriage. But I actually heard him when I first started researching this about 5 years ago, and he gave a lecture with regard to how things need to be structured in our communities so that we can facilitate healthy marriages, so that we can facilitate, and cultivate healthy marriages and families, because that is at the core of nation building. If you have these very weak families who are coming together and they really don't have anything to go on but a westernized understanding of what marriage is, then that marriage is probably going to be doomed to fail, especially if people are not willing to adjust their mindsets. So the first one is actually him just going in a little bit on polygyny itself, and he touches on arranged marriage. Give us a call here because I really want to know what you think as well. Like I said, I want to know where you are in terms of arranged marriage. What is the way forward for us as a people? I've told you what I feel, and what I really know to be true is works for too many couples. too many other cultures. If you heard the gypsies talking, they were saying that they do it because they know that it works. It works for them, and it has worked for them for centuries. It worked for our people, but now we have thrown away, and we have taken from us so much of our culture and so much of who we are that we don't even really know who we are. So in our reclaiming who we are, we need to reclaim a lot of these ancient ways that worked for us. This is Shifting Paradigms. I'm Sister Zion. We'll be right back.
Yes. All right, so there's a desperation that is apparent when it comes to the black family, wanting to restore the black community and sort of restore the black family. So I see a lot of people are talking about, I feel like a lot of the media plays on the desperation of single black women. Mm-hmm. A lot of the marketing that we see play on the desperation of single black women. How do we counteract that, and how do we remove that desperation sort of out of our community and sort of restore more traditional principles?
Well, number one, as far as the media goes, we're not required to partake in it. So a lot of that stuff simply needs to be disqualified from the social menu for most black people's lives. We're not required to watch the different shows that promote, the thirsty black female syndrome, and we need to divorce ourselves from that. So as far as the media, we just need to exercise more restraint. As far as how do you eliminate that, the truth of the matter is black men are rare. They are scarce because of the war against black men. So the black woman's concern that she might not find a mate, it is a very legitimate concern that can't be ignored. But I think that we could help control that concern to some extent if we were to organize marriage and if we were to organize dating in the community. That doesn't mean get involved in everybody's business, but we do need some structure that will allow women an opportunity to date without being taken advantage of, and will allow men an opportunity to date without having their characters assassinated if they don't decide to stay with that woman. So there needs to be some sort of protocol in place. I think it begins with the elders. I think that all brothers and sisters should go through a mandatory training program, socialization system that prepares them for marriage. You just don't wake up and say, I want to get married, even though marriage is natural. Just like you don't just wake up and say, I want to have a baby. You need to learn how to take care of a child. So I think we need systems in place that are not there. But we suffer from radical individualism. We do not see ourselves as part of a community or a culture. We see ourselves as a plethora of individual nations. Every black person is their own sovereign nation. They're not interested in linking up with another black person. We believe in this concept of privacy that I think is debilitating the black community, because we don't discuss the issues that need to be discussed because everyone wants to stay so private, even though everyone's dealing with the same types of situations. I think that a lot of this can be alleviated. I think that black men have to be held more accountable for their dating behavior with black women, but I think black women have to be held accountable as well. I think that it's not fair for the black men to often be put as the butt or the sole person or population responsible for the failure of relationships. Being a therapist, speaking as a therapist, women do a lot of wrong things to men too, but they never get highlighted the way that they do when men do wrong things to women. So we got to be more fairer in assigning responsibility when relationships are not successful. Every black woman waiting to get married is not necessarily of the quality of woman that a man would necessarily want to make his wife. And every brother is not just someone who's just, hungry for a sister's, physical gifts without wanting to entertain her intellectual prowess as well. So we got to bring balance to the conversation, but again, structure. Bottom line is you got more men than women. You have more women than men. Something has to be done about that. I don't think everyone needs to be polygamous. No woman wants to share her husband. But if you look at our situation, to not have a conversation, a serious and responsible conversation about polygamy without enough men to go around, then you're going to constantly see the withering away of black sisterhood. When I look around at black women, one of the biggest issues I see eroding the sisterhood. Not that it's always been great, but it was better than what it is now. And that's the competition for the limited pool of black men that's out there. And again, Going back to being a therapist, I've seen everything from sisters to cousins, mother, daughter. I mean, women fighting, catfighting, relationships ending over a small pool of men because they're competing for the same man's attention. Something has to be done about that because it's creating romantic anarchy in the black community.
Okay. I think if we talked about polygamy, we would probably be here all night. But I do want to sort of delve into it because you brought it up. Because you said we need to have a serious conversation about it. I think that we jump to that particular, like I hear in what is called the conscious community, we hear that is the first solution. That's the first solution we hear. Like, oh, there are not enough black men, so let's, let's entertain polygamy. But for me, I don't think that structure works because of all of the other conditions that we're in. So whereas I have met people in polygamous marriages from other countries, but they're not in the same economic situation that we're in. Mm-hmm. They are not in the same social situation that we're in. So maybe it's A, legal in their country, and B, they can afford, to have, I have 3 wives, and this wife is able to go to law school, and this wife is able to do this, and this wife is able to do this because I have the financial means to sort of do these things. And I think in our country, we're not there. A, because it's illegal, and B, because we don't have the economic and social power to institute something as radical as polygamy.
I don't agree with that because we already have polygamy. Very few men are monogamous. Black, white, rich, purple, rich or poor. We already have it in the black community. Many men have children with different women. There's many plural relationships that exist in the black community. I also don't think you have to marry the state to get married. I know a lot of people in polygamous relationships, happy ones, but I would say that I don't think we're ready for it right now. I think you have to prepare for that. I think a lot of paradigm shifting has to take place on both the parts of black men and black women for polygamy to be successful. I was raised Muslim. My father was not polygamous, but there's a lot of polygamy in Islam, and I've seen women get taken advantage of by it. So I am very, very aware of why a lot of black women look at polygamy with skepticism, and that's because most of them are only familiar with polygamy from the Islamic, the Hebrew, the Moorish, the Christian, the patriarchal type of polygamies that we see in major Western religions. They really haven't seen it from an African-centered, feminine perspective. In many African cultures that are maternalistic, polygyny was actually instituted by the females. It was not instituted by the men. It was the women who said that they wanted their sisters to have the same type of opportunities that they had. So it's very maternalistic in African society. But again, men have to be more responsible. Men do have to be able to provide. They have to be more above board with it. It cannot be a secret polygamy. If you have 2 wives, the whole community should know who they are. I think there needs to be elder oversight so men don't take advantage of it. But polygamy would not work now for the greatest reason being that black women have issues with black women. It's not the man, it's the sisterhood. Polygyny only works when the sisters want it to work. And with the competition amongst black women, I think we're a far cry away from polygamy now. The brothers got to make changes, but until sisterhood is what it needs to be, it will not work. The women involved have to love each other more than they love that man in order for that unit to work. But I know a lot of polygynous situations that are very healthy and very successful. But again, you have to prepare for that. It's not something you do tomorrow.
And the ones that I have seen that are successful, that may be in America, what I learned, because I spent some time actually in a polygamous group of women, of sisters, and I wanted to understand that culture. Like right around the time I got married, I was just curious. And what I noticed is that they were brought up in the ones that were really successful were brought up in other polygamous relationships, so that maybe their father was polygamous and their mother had sister wives, and so then they grew up in a culture thinking like, when I grow up I'm gonna have a sister wife, and they knew that culture.
I think that makes it easier, but with any institution, if you want it to work, it'll work. If you don't, it won't. I don't think it's for everybody, but I do think the black community can no longer ignore it because it exists. I mean, most men, most women even, are in plural relationships. And so it's interesting. how it's so taboo to discuss it or consider it, but it's okay for it to operate under the table in silence around the corner.
Right,
It's
but those
here.
aren't necessarily polygamous. I would say they're plural, but they're not polygamous. Because when I talk, I mean, when we talk about it, to me, I thought, okay, well, when I look at the gay rights, when they went to get gay marriage, I was like, well, the polygamous people should be arguing for a different wording. Do you know what I mean? So that it could be legal. Because if this sister wife can't pick up my son from school because she's not a legal guardian, then it's really not polygamy. It's just a plural relationship. Or if this sister can't get insurance because only one of us can get insurance. To me, those are the things that sort of make it polygamous when it's all in the open. Like you said, in society where it's known this wife and this wife are both married and they have the same rights to everything.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where, for me, it gets kind of like, well, that's not really the same. And, I mean, if my husband and I were to take on somebody else into our marriage, I'm already here. I'm legally married to him, so I'll have these rights, and then this sister won't have these rights. And so are we really co-anything, or is there a hierarchy, and is that okay? You know, so
Well,
to
you
me,
can
that's
still
the
be
difference.
co because you can do marriage through a contract. You don't have to get legally married in order for the wife to benefit the way a wife would benefit through a marriage through getting a marriage license. You can get the same types of rights, privileges, and benefits through a contract. A lot of brothers I know who are in plural marriage, they're married to their women through contracts, not through a marriage license. So you can have more than one woman receive the same type of benefit.
That's really interesting.
All right, that was Dr. Umar Johnson giving insights into arranged marriage and polygyny and how they could possibly benefit us as a community in terms of nation building. Like I stated before, I'm not really a proponent or an advocate for polygyny, but I love the aspect of arranged marriage. I really believe that arranged marriage should be a staple for us as a community. Scotty, you had some things that you wanted to share?
Yes, thank you. Before the video, you were bringing up an example in the Romanian, is it the Romanian gypsy community?
Yes, Romney. They're called Romney gypsies.
Okay. You were bringing up a situation where, an example where a wife cheated on her husband and everybody, kind of sat her down and tried to reason with her, find out what the issue is. But, I had sent you a message about this in my community, in our community. We hear about somebody cheating on somebody. All we doing is gossiping about it, We don't necessarily try to intervene in the situation and try to be mediators and find and help the couple, find a way to stay together or agree to leave each other without doing further damage to each other. On the question you had about and excuse me because a lot of these terms are new to me, but in terms of, I just don't know what it would take for that to take root in our community, being that we so brainwashed by Western culture and whatnot. I just don't see a young woman or a young man, for that matter, in this country or in our community, agreeing to an arranged marriage. I'm not saying it couldn't happen. It probably does happen. I'm not sure. I'm thinking of the Amish community in the Pennsylvania area. I don't know if they do arranged marriages or not. But I just think that that's an ideal. That would come as a culture shock to many people in our community because we so disconnected from our ancestors' ways, and so those were my thoughts on that. If I have anything else, because it's a very interesting topic and one to think about deeply.
Yes, thank you, Scotty. No, I truly understand. What I really like about the Romney Gypsies structure in terms of arranged marriage, and of course these children are raised up in it. they're born into the world pretty much knowing, you know, your parents are going to arrange your marriage. The elders in the community are going to give input. They're not going to be all up in the finer points of your marriage. But if you need help, we're here. We're not just going to let your family dissolve, because your family is too important to us as a community of people. And one of the other things that I love about it is the fact that even though these, and this is the thing that I also loathe about Western society. Western society often tells our young men and our young women that it's okay to go out and sexually explore yourself and, you know, be sexually free. And so you get to go out and whore yourself out to various people. Young men get to go out and become whoremongers and lay with this woman and that woman, and they get to get, you know, all types of children before they're really outside of a marriage. And then you have young women who are doing much the same. What I love about their setup is that their children marry young, and they stay married. They stay married. Their children marry young.
Sister Zion.
Yes, go ahead, Scotty.
Oh, yes. I had forgot to bring up something to you. Like, I live in a rural community, small black community. You could say we're an island among a sea of white folks. All right. This is a very old black community. Some of the families have been here for over 100 years. Particularly two of the families have been here for a very, very long time. Now, there are in these other little small towns in our county, you know, black people, just like us, small communities and whatnot. And one of the things I remember, that whenever we would date somebody, especially if they were from any town within this county or whatnot, the elders, and when I say elders, I'm not specifically talking about old people, but I'm talking about our parents and our older cousins would be checking to make sure we're not related to that person, because it's such a close-knit community. You know, only a few families, and a lot of those families intermarried over the years. And so, you know, most of us are all related. So that's the closest thing that I could see. I know that's not like arranging marriages, but making sure you ain't marrying your cousin is a big thing around here.
No, that actually took place in my family, because I'm from a small town in southwestern Michigan. And so I'm from Benton Harbor, Michigan, to be exact. And I have buku family on both sides, both my mother and my father's side in Benton Harbor, Michigan. So that's what we go about about doing, you know, making sure that nobody's related, that you're not marrying a cousin or marrying somebody else close. So, but I also recall, I just know from my grandparents' generation, they didn't really intervene, but if there were marital issues, they would set the couple down and at least try to counsel them to some extent and let them know that, you know, your marriage is important. Don't give up on your spouse. And as long as there was nothing really abusive taking place, then, you know, they would try to help. The older generation would try to help. The current older generation, what I'm finding, is not as I don't know if they don't feel welcome, or if they're just not as assertive. They're just not as assertive in terms of trying to help young marriages last. And so, like Dr. Umar said, we have a very horrible case of individualism. We really do not see ourselves as a community. And because we do not see ourselves as a community, we suffer, and we suffer horribly, and we're actually at greater risk of annihilation and genocide, because we don't see the value in coming together as a community and the value of creating infrastructure for ourselves as a community that facilitates healthy marriages, that facilitates healthy families. So that, I think, is the biggest problem. And like I said, one of the things that I love about the Romney culture is that they do allow their children to marry young. I don't see a problem with it. I think that if you're old enough, if you can, and I have people, this is why, another reason why I hate Western culture, because they will go and make concession for you smoking pot with your children, you allowing your child's boyfriend and girlfriend to stay the night over at your house, and all this other modernized, ignorant stuff. But to actually say, you know what, our child is 17 years old, but they really want to get married. They found someone that they want to get married to. Everyone has a heart attack. Oh, they're too young. But they weren't too young to have sex. They weren't too young for you to go control. They weren't too young for you to allow them to smoke marijuana in your house or to drink at your parties or anything else. But because they want to get married, now they're too young. They're too young to get married. They're grown enough to do everything else, but they're too young to get married. And so that's what and so I truly understand what you're speaking of when you talk about our people just being so disconnected and so brainwashed. But that's why I said there are some people that we're just going to have to leave behind. For those of us who get it, we have to begin to raise our children starting today with this understanding. Because I've already told my children, I'm arranging your marriage. I'm going to be involved in with whomever you marry. I'm going to be involved in that because I want you to have a marriage that I didn't have. I want you to have a family that I didn't have. I want you to nation build. I don't want you to be left at the vulnerability of our oppressor. I don't want that for my children. So I don't think, like I said, that we can waste any more time on people who don't get it. If you don't get arranged marriage, if you don't understand how this fits into the grand scheme of our survival and even beyond our survival, our thriving and our flourishing as a people, then I can't help you. There's nothing that I can do to change your mind. But it works. And it works it worked for our people for centuries and generations prior to this captivity. And it's working for other cultures and other ethnicities. And that's why they're doing it. We're the only people who are just kind of lost in the sauce and kind of watching from the sidelines going, nah, I don't want to be involved in that. And yet the marriage that you had or the relationship that you had that you thought was leading to marriage, that's not working. So why don't we do what works? My name is Sister Zion. This is Shifting Paradigms. The number here is 641-715-3660. The extension is 549032. Hit pound, hit star 6 and 1 to comment or to ask a question. I truly want to know, what is the way forward for our people? What is the way forward for us? Polygyny, arranged marriage? We'll be back in just a moment.
Black Talk Radio Network is made possible in part with help from the Black Talk Media Project, a North Carolina-based nonprofit engaged in the production and distribution of independent digital black media. Find out more by going to blacktalkradionetwork.com or blacktalkmediaproject.org and look for the menu tab, Crowdfunding Black Media. Black Talk Media Project, helping to provide you with new black media for the new millennium. You are tuned in to Black Talk Radio, the new black media for the new millennium.
We are back. This is Shifting Paradigms, Mr. Zion. And what is the way forward for us in terms of black marriage? successful black marriages that built successful black families. Just to give you a heads up in terms of we still marry each other. We've been through this, before on other shows. We still marry each other more, even though we get the statistics about marrying outside of our people. We still marry one another more than, the media would have us to believe. And even though there is a propaganda campaign towards swirling, showing more interracial couples, and it's funny because I never see a lot of white and Asian couples. I never see a lot of white and so-called or noticeably Hispanic or Latino couples. When I see this agenda put forth, it is usually a black man with a white woman or a white man with a black woman. So there is a propaganda campaign that is alive and thriving. If you've been to Old Navy, if you've seen any of the Old Navy, especially a lot of the retailers, because Old Navy isn't the only one. There are a couple of other ones that are really reinforcing this mentality that, apparently black people just being black people isn't good enough. We have to somehow go ahead and swirl and mix with Caucasoid people, which is we have to begin to counter that within our children so that they don't internalize that mentality and think that it's okay to marry outside of our people. I don't know if you heard the Romney gentleman, I believe his name is Michael, state that actually it was the wife, the young wife, Maria. She said to actually marry outside of Romney culture, outside of the Romney community, is actually you get shunned. So if you're a gypsy young man and you decide that, and there's a name that they have for the women who are not gypsies, who are not Romney, there's a name that they have for them, and I don't know how to pronounce it. But if you marry a woman outside of Romney culture, you get shunned. Your family will not have anything to do with you, and they're not going to accept your wife. They're not going to accept your children. The heck with you, really, because it's like you thumbed your nose at your own people, and your own people aren't good enough for you to marry. Your own people were not good enough for you to procreate with. So why should we have anything to do with you? And quite frankly, I agree with that. I really do. But I really think that we need to just even begin to groom our children. If you have children of a particular age, especially as they're going into their teens, begin, and I'm only talking conscious people, I'm not talking to people who have a westernized mentality. If you're still on this kick of I need to fall in love with someone, or I just want my children to fall in love with someone and get married, then there's nothing that I'm going to be able to do or say in this program in the time that we have to change your mind. So with that being said, I want to hear from you, truly, but there's nothing that I'm going to be able to do or say to change your mind. But for those who know better, I really want us to begin to even groom our children so that they understand that you have a community of people behind you, and that I, as your mother, I, as your father, I care enough about you to help you through this process, because this is a very daunting process. It is nothing to be taken lightly. The Western culture just so trivializes and trashes the institution of marriage that it makes a mockery of it on a consistent, it is made a perpetual mockery of it. And one of the ways that we can stop this mockery of marriage within our community is just to arrange marriages, to make sure that we are building strong families, strong structures within our community that are going to last. The next audio that I have, and this is actually a brother, and he's actually speaking about why black women need arranged marriages. And I agree. albeit I will preface this by saying that I don't agree with everything the brother says. He says some kind of off-the-cuff things, and apparently he has a reputation on YouTube for not being the greatest towards black women, but he does clarify that he doesn't have a problem with black women per se. He has a problem with what black women have become, and I agree. Not just for me personally, I don't have a problem with just how what our sisters have become. I have a problem with what our people have become in general. I hate the fact that we have become this horrible, horrible copy of our oppressor, and that we've taken on so many of our oppressor's ways that we are no longer recognizable. That as many of our ancestors were to come back and see us functioning the way that we are right now, that they would be absolutely horrified and offended at how we live our lives and how we treat each other. And so I want you to listen very closely to this brother. Like I said, I don't agree with everything that this brother says, but I want you to take into consideration with what he has to say with black women needing arranged marriages. I also want to hear from you with regard to polygyny and arranged marriage. The number here is 641-715-3660. The extension is 549032. Hit pound, hit star 6 and 1 to comment or to ask any questions. What is the way forward for us? I'll be right back.
I was doing my rounds last night watching videos, and somebody sent me the video, I forget who did it, of the black woman liking the thugs and stuff like that. And you know me, I had to go look at the comments. And the comments basically said, here comes one black woman. She goes, nice guys are too shy. Thugs make it known what they want immediately, and that's what turns women on. This is why we like thug. We like a man that knows what he wants and knows how to get it now. And thugs also offer us protection from what? From wild animals, from lions, from tigers. This constant meme that keeps coming up with these ignorant women, and I don't get it. Even the two light-skinned black women, trying to think of her name, she brought that up. I think they're Yolisa, and then the other one, they're both New York City based, whatever. Let me get into this, because it is just apparent to me that those of you who are still interested in the so-called restoration of the black family, what you're going to have to understand is you have to believe in arranged marriages for black women. This is pretty much the only way to go at this point. Pretty much. I think that all of the other successful races of people, they didn't figure that out a long time ago. They're still doing it. It is for the most part working. It's keeping their crap together, as you can say. And I would say the biggest example that is in my area are, excuse me, Indian people from India. There's a lot of them in my area. I told you before, I'm very, very attracted to Indian women. I think they are beautiful. I think they're so sweet and nice and soft and tender. And I've never heard an Indian woman use a curse word, a swear word, or whatever. They're just really, they're fine. I'm not saying all of them, but the ones that look pretty, oh my God, they got it going on. So now, they understand Women basically do not have a lot of brain power. I've really come to that conclusion. Well, I come to that conclusion a long time ago. Most of them don't know what they want. They're very fickle, and quite frankly, they're very stupid. And the smart, successful cultures, they know this. They understand this, and they really don't give them any choices when it comes to choosing a mate. You know, that's it. You want to resurrect the black family, you're going to have to enforce arranged marriages. You're going to have to do this. Anything else, the black family is going to continue circling down the drain. And you have to set up a strong community so that they have to stay in these marriages. They want to call it quits. It's like, no, community pressure. No, what's the reason? There has to be a strong, definitive reason as to why you want to end this marriage. But arranged marriages are your only way to go, because you leave them to their own devices, and this is why you're getting, I would possibly say, the 90% failure rate. You know, number one, the vast majority of them are not married anymore, period. The vast majority of them are baby mamas. We know this. And that's horrible in of itself. So all these groups that are out here, all these black nationalist groups, all these groups, whatever you call yourself, if you're not pumping arranged marriages to the masses of black people, you're really not pumping nothing at all, because these women are just, if you can't see it, then you're not going to see it. These women are just mentally gone. They really are. They have the mind of 8-year-olds. They can have all these college degrees that they want, but when you see their mating choices, you just are completely shocked. You know, Pookie and Ray Ray's winning because, honestly, the black man is not on his job, you know, making sure that his daughter marries somebody that is sufficient, you know, sufficient and decent. That's the point that I want to make. Going into, here's another thing that I just thought about recently. If you want to rebuild a new black family structure, you're going to have to go into a Amish style black community. You can't hope for anything else. The masses of black people are just lost. They don't want to do nothing. They're just lazy. But all you so-called black power Nazis, all you guys, your only hope is to get with all the guys that have a lot of what y'all believe in common. Y'all are not going to believe all the same things. You just got to have at least 70% agreement rate. And then you have to build Amish-style black communities. This is your only hope of restoring the black family. This is your only hope. And you would have to learn how to speak a different language, and then have a financial system amongst yourselves in kind. You'd have to have your own private, you know, religious halls if you're going to do religion and stuff like that. This is the only hope for black people in the future. The masses are completely gone. But those of you who still want to do this experiment of saving the black family, you have to listen to what I'm saying, and please feel free to comment. Because a lot of you get my ideas twisted. You don't fully understand what I'm saying. You come with this emotional bullshit. I have never completely said that I've hated the black woman. I have hated what the black woman has become. That's the point that I'm trying to make. I hated what she has become. So I'm going to close this out. I'm going to put this out here. And I'm going to let y'all chew on it and let me know what you think.
Okay, this is Shifting Paradigms on Sister Zion, and we are discussing the way forward for us in terms of black marriage. I have a caller on the line. Caller, thank you for calling in. If you could please share with us your take on polygyny and arranged marriage. What do you stand with it?
How you doing this Sunday afternoon, Zion?
I'm fine, sir. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Pretty good. It's nice. Of course, most of the time it's nice down here in Florida, but it's pretty nice out here. Nice little breeze. Let the window down. I let the window up because I ain't, the noise or whatever. But I'm listening to you, of course, and I hear what you're saying about polygamy, specifically first. But I don't know. In arranged marriages, polygamy, I can't see it working. Arranged marriages, I see it the same way. I agree with a lot of the things that you're saying for the same reason. My thing is, I don't think we need to go that far. I think we need to compete.
Okay. And I'm sorry, caller, because you say we don't need to go that far. Our people always did this from the beginning. Right. We've acquired a westernized mindset that has said that it's not necessary. So what do you mean we don't need to go that far?
I mean that where we come from is something different than where we are now. Because what you were saying about what were you saying? Maybe I was saying this about our identity being stripped from us. Like we don't know. We forgot everything about who we were as far as our customs, as far as everything. It was we didn't forget. It was taken from us. And I think in that paradigm, I think that abolitionism is the way. Not so much arranged marriages, because the main thing that they did to us, in my eyes, they took our best friends from us. Black men, they took the black women from us, and however means you want to, you can go from. They made them more masculine. They put them in a position where it seemed like nobody could help them but white men, and increasingly more white women. That nobody. And if you can hold on for a minute, brother, because I hear exactly what you're saying, and having discussed this, in other forums, that's why I know that there are some of our people who really don't understand it, and they don't get it. So it's not that I don't understand what you're saying. What I am saying is that we need to start working towards solutions. Because and there's always going to be that remnant among us who is so westernized in their mentality that they don't get it. Well, then they can self-destruct with the rest of the society. Those people don't concern us. For those of us who understand that this is how our people always functioned prior to slavery, that we had arranged marriages. And this was what kept our cultures, this is what kept our people for as long as we were. So we need to recapture those things because they worked. What we're doing right now does not work. You're right.
What we're doing right now, all of this westernized concept of falling in love with someone, and I have to fall in love with someone and then get married to them. And then you don't even have a definitive understanding of what it is to really love someone.
Right. I get
it. So then that marriage ends up imploding within a matter of 5 to 10 years. And there's no structure, no elders, no anyone to help that couple go and try to make things right, or try to at least help them to agree to disagree so that they're not doing further damage to each other and the community. But see, that's what I'm saying, that we need these things.
But
go ahead.
Listen, I'm coming from a standpoint of experience, just like you are. You know what I mean? my soon to be wife, we get married this year. We've been together for over a little over 10 years, right? When we 1st met each other, we were in the typical racist, white supremacist, oppressed mode. You know, we were living out what we see. We were, you know, we had been taught a lot of the wrong things. Most of the things that we know were wrong. You know what I mean? We were in that state, and I was raised by my mom exclusively. My dad ain't really have nothing to do with my raising, but men made me hard along the way. Something just I don't know how to quite quantify it in words, but it made just when I seen her, it's just I saw the essence of my mom, and from just when I seen her, I seen friends. I wasn't conscious at the time. I didn't have an understanding of real love and things like that. But I'm gonna tell you what I really think it was. My spirit just reached out. My spirit just like punched my brain and said, "That's a friend." You know what I mean? That's a friend right now. Do something. And from that day, if I wasn't with her, I probably wouldn't be conscious right now. I probably wouldn't have an understanding of what's going on. But I said all that to say that, you know, sometimes I can't speak for everybody's standpoint, but from my standpoint, it does happen. It's not a point of love from like.
But why should somebody have to wait? And pardon me, brother. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to cut you off, but why should somebody have to wait 10 years? Some people, why should anybody have to wait 10 years? And I'm glad that it's working out for you in this respect. But in an arranged marriage, you court for about a year to 2 years, and then you get married.
But in an arranged marriage, it takes time to develop. We know a couple right now that they were arranged when they were young. They've been together for what, 30 some odd years, maybe 40 some odd years, right? They're doing good. They love each other now, but like the first, I guess, 5, 10 years or whatever, 15 maybe. They didn't know each other. They didn't love each other. None of that stuff. They had to become friends.
But they were married. But do you understand what I'm saying? That they were still married, and they were able to build from that. So they weren't.
You could build without being married, though, is what I'm saying. If you understand that the person across from you is your friend, the person across from you is not just y'all not just gonna produce children together. You're gonna build like a legacy together. When you have that understanding, like I said, I wasn't conscious at the time. I just had my mom raised me, and my mom's not conscious either. She just was always respect others, do what you got to do. Be a, you know what I mean? It's like that type of mom. You feel what I'm saying? She raised me. I'm telling you,
but actually, this is, and once again, because we're gonna have to go to a break for a minute. I'm not trying to cut you off, but what I'm trying to say is that you are saying exactly what me and Scotty were saying from the jump. Is that the fact that there is a faction. There's always going to be a faction of our people that are so brainwashed that this is not going to be for them. But for those of whom it is, I want to bring it has to be entered into the discussion, because what we're doing right now isn't working. I'm glad it's working for you for some respect, but it's not working for everybody else. It creates a baby mamas and men who are not taking care of their responsibilities, and a whole host of other things that are just going awry because we don't have these structures in place. There has to be structure. There's no structure right now, because if you had structure, you even just admitted that you did not have that male figure to help you. If you had an elder or your father who had helped you pick a wife, even choose the woman that you're with right now, they could have helped that process to go a lot smoother. You understand what I'm saying?
It could have made the process go a lot worse. When we come back, when you come back, I'm going to say from break, I'm going to talk to you about the negative that I see in our people right now if we were to go into polygamy and arranged marriage.
Okay, this is Sister Paradigm. This is Sister Zion, and we are discussing the way forward for black marriage. Polygyny or arranged marriage. The fact of the matter is that we have to do something because what we're doing right now is not working. We'll be right back in just a moment.
Okay.
Black Talk Radio since 2008, providing new black media for the masses.
Okay, we are back to Shifting Paradigms. This is Sister Zion, and the discussion is basically black marriage is the way forward, the way back. I have a caller on the line from Florida who is basically stating that he doesn't think we need to go that far. And while I empathize greatly with what he is saying to some degree, because there are some of our people who don't get it, but and before I let him finish his thoughts, I want to basically say that as a product of a broken family, it would have been really good if my parents had have stayed together. And my father talks about this now. You know, I've been able to reestablish a relationship with my father. And he talks about this now. If he had been able to stay with my mother. And had he and my mother and my grandparents, because my grandfather, my mother's father, actually wanted to arrange things for me and his granddaughters. So it would have been a cool thing for me to have my parents and my grandparents arrange a marriage for me of a black man who had his head on right, who in a lot of ways was hardworking and dedicated to his family the way that my grandfather was. I would be married right now, and there would be the sense of stability. Strong marriages create wealth. Strong marriages create generational wealth. And this is what the Romney cultures understand. The Romney Gypsies, the Orthodox Jewish people, the Amish people, they understand this thing. We are the ones who don't get it. And so we think that what we've been doing over the past couple of centuries under the oppression of racism and white supremacy is something that apparently should be carried on into our demise, to our extinction. I really believe that we are in such a state of emergency in terms of autogenocide that this is exactly what we need. Like I said, I'm not an advocate for polygyny. I've seen some instances where it works, but it is in the minority. But the majority of marriages that I've seen that have worked and that have prospered, they actually have been arranged in some respect. Whether it was a pastor that introduced a young woman to a young man, or parents that said, look, you know what, I know that you're looking for a wife. Would you consider my daughter? There's the marriages that really work have those things. And unfortunately, what we're lacking is that parental guidance, is that sense of community. And that's what I'm saying, because even beyond the marriage, that sense of community has to exist. That sense of community is not there. So we don't see the necessity, but it is to our own demise that we do not have the things that we need. We have, like I said, I hope you understand what Michael, the father of the young man, Christian, who got married in the Romney culture, what he was saying. They don't go out to outside people to do anything for them. They resolve whatever issues they have within their community. Point blank in the story. This is what I am talking about. So while this is a conversation about marriage, this is more so a conversation about community and us reestablishing our people and in terms of real viable community. Where we don't go outside to the oppressor to make decisions for us or to do this, that, and the third for us.
Sister Zion, what you said needs to be repeated, because I was sitting here listening to the conversation you was having with the brother who called in and just trying to think about this issue more deeply than just on the surface. And that's the thing I kept coming to in my mind about the difference between our community and this gypsy community. Is that they are functioning actually as a community where we are not, for the most part. I can say I live in a black community because most of us are related, and we're helping each other, and we're interacting with each other, and everybody know each other. It's so under our circumstances, it's not hard for us to be a community because we are mostly all related. But in other areas and places that I lived, like in Detroit, and even when I was in the military, just because a lot of people look the same and may share the same culture and whatnot, but they may live two doors down from each other and not ever speak to each other or know each other or do more than just throw up a hand on the street. That what you just said, I think, is the most important thing of why arranged marriages will have difficulty in our communities, is because we're actually not functioning. We're a dysfunctional community for the most part.
No, and that's very true. But that's why I want to offer this as a solution, because we have to begin healing. We have to begin rectifying and placing those cornerstones within our communities that were removed by our oppressor. We have to begin doing damage repair. And we haven't been doing that. We know about the problem, but we're not going about the process of creating solutions. And this is one of the solutions, is that we reestablish ourselves as a community. And one of the ways that we need to do that is to arrange marriages. There's really no other way around it. And no, it's not going to be for everybody. But that's what I'm trying to get the callers to understand. I cannot tell you how many sisters DM me, inbox me about the fact that they want to get married. And they are having such a difficult time finding marriageable men that someone will talk to them over the internet for a series of weeks, for about 5 to 6 weeks, and then fall off. For whatever reason. There's also, because of the social media phenomenon, there's a lot of catfishing going on. So no one wants to meet in person. I'll DM you and I'll call you, but I'm not going to meet you in person. So there are a lot of sisters, and that's why I'm glad for this brother. I'm glad he has somebody. But not everybody has. I even hear brothers complaining consistently about the fact that they are having issues finding a wife. So what would be so wrong about elders coming along and saying, you know what, matching up, like Brother Umar said, and saying, you know what, we know this sister right here, and this is her career, this is how old she is, this is what she brings to the table. We like to get you two together to see how everything will work out between you two. There's nothing wrong with that at all. As a matter of fact, it's more likely to lead to a more stable marriage than anything. Any of this blind, touchy-feely, emotional, gobbledygook that we've taken off from our oppressor to apply it to marriage. Well, I have to fall in love. What the heck does that even mean? What does that mean? And yes, you want to be fond of someone. You want to have an affinity for someone. You want to respect someone. You want to have them love and respect you. But that takes time, because even if you have been if you've been talking to someone, you still have to get to know someone. And there are levels to knowing someone, because you're not going to know everything you need to know about them until you get married. Even then, you're not going to know everything that you need to know about them. But you at least need to start somewhere. And having that help is not going to hurt. And this is why I'm speaking specifically, like the brother was saying, I'm speaking specifically to those conscious communities. We need to start arranging marriages. If there are elders out there that are truly being led of the Creator, of the Most High, Ahaya, please get yourself in position so that you can offer yourself up for counsel, because it is needed. Our people are in dire need. Like I said, I hear from sisters, but I also hear the brothers saying the same thing, and they're missing each other. They're missing each other. So it would be nice to have someone to finally connect so that we can build strong, healthy families, and from strong, healthy families, build and establish strong, healthy communities. Scotty, did you have anything else to add? I'm going to go ahead and call her. I see you, but I want to go ahead and get this audio in. There's a sister by the name of Heather Hill, and she gives her insight into polygyny and what it means to her. And then we're going to hear from Dr. Umar one more time. Was there anything else you wanted to ask, Scotty?
No. I just want to thank you for bringing this topic for our consideration. Lots to think about.
Thank you, sir. No problem at all. We're going to go into Heather Hill and her yes to polygamy. And just to clarify, there is just a slight difference between polygamy and polygyny. Polygamy is the state or practice of being married to more than one person at a time. And so, without the insertion of the Western mindset, we want to specify that polygyny is specifically the state or practice of having more than one wife or being married to more than one woman at a time. This is Shifting Paradigms. I'm Sister Zion, and we will be back.
All right, so some of my followers wanted me to give a quick description or my views on polygamous relationships. Okay, yes, I agree with polygamous relationships, but not in the terms that you all probably are thinking that I agree with it on. See, polygamous relationships were originally built around building security, building an empire, building a nation of people. See, in BC, back before Christ, obviously, when you read the Bible, these kings, they had multiple wives, but it was not for any sexual desires. It was to build a nation. See, these days you have it confused. You use it for sexual exploitations or sexual desires when that has nothing to do with it. See, my thing is, you men and some women, but very rarely women, but mostly men, you're trying to use it to benefit yourself instead of benefiting others. See, if you brought two women together who both had really good stable jobs, plus that one man, which is the king, which is the leader, who also had a good job, you have 3 financial incomes in one household. Let's bring another woman into the picture. He also brings another 4th income into that financial household. See, that's how you all have it confused. See, if you were thinking a little bit smarter, you would figure the puzzle out. Now, the reason I don't participate in it right now is because a lot of people don't grasp the complete understanding of it. There are 58 billion more women in this world than there is men. I guarantee you, God doesn't make any mistakes. I think it was like that for a reason, if you ask me.
That was Heather Hill, her perspective with regard to polygyny. And I also bring on the last audio that I have of Dr. Umar going in again about arranging marriages and why this is important. Caller, I see you. I'll return back to you after we get done with this. But like I said, I really just wanted to drive the point home that we're talking about the problems. And yes, I know that there are cons with arranged marriages, but it's really funny that the cons that I'm hearing even in terms of the research that I've done, those are things that people encounter anyway in marriages that aren't arranged. So we'll go ahead and we'll go into Dr. Umar, dating and marriage. We'll be right back.
Here's one thing that will really help us, Abundance.
Okay.
If we want to build solid family institutions, then we have to build a solid dating institution. In other words, we lack a process and a system for people to find honorable, suitable mates without risking too much of their life, too much of their privacy, too much of their resources, to only find out down the line that this person really wasn't what I was looking for, even if they weren't a bad person. See, the family, if we want to incubate healthy families and healthy family process, then we have to build a healthy dating process. We need a system in place that if a sister is single and she's looking for a good conscious brother, okay, there's actually an elder she can go to. It might be a queen mother. And you go there, queen mother, you say, queen mother, look, I'm looking for a good brother. You know what I mean? I need a guy who can cook, or he ain't got to cook. I need a guy who can work, or he ain't got to work. I need a guy who can have children, or maybe he can't have children. Whatever the situation is, you literally fill out a confidential application. It goes to the queen. Yep. She talks with the council of elders about it. She said, well, you know what? I know a couple. Let me talk to this brother. They don't give him your name. They just give him the background. They say, I got a sister, boom, 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 boom. You know what I mean? And speaking on condition of anonymity, okay, say, okay, this is who she is. Do you know her? Yeah. Are you serious about getting to know her? Okay. Are you sure you're serious? Because if you play with this sister, okay, guess what? We as the elders will say that no sister is to date your ass. Okay? Are you sure? You're serious? Because if she ain't your type, don't even waste your time and don't waste your time. They say, you know what? Nah, I'm going to fall back. I think she okay, but she ain't really what I'm looking for. I'm going to fall back. There might be another brother out there. They go to the next brother, and that brother say, I really want to holler at that, right? They set it up, y'all date, they sit down with the both of you, they let y'all know what the rules is. Look, brother, there can't be no intimacy, okay, within the first whatever time that's going to be. Or they might say, look, sister, we letting y'all both know that we don't think y'all should be getting intimate until such and such time. But if y'all do that on your own risk, and we don't want to hear about it. And if y'all do decide that this ain't going to work out, y'all have to come back and let us know that the courting process is officially over. We decided we are not good for each other, and the conditions of that put in place by the elders is you cannot assassinate the other person's character. If you had an issue with something that they done to you during the course of that getting to know each other period, that goes back to the elders, and they deal with it. The elders might decide that what he did is not acceptable. Guess what? We're going to let all sisters know they not to holler at him. He's going to go find his own woman, but he ain't going to find them through this network. Or vice versa. Brother say, yo, that sister did me dirty. She was actually married. And the elders like, what? We didn't know that. Boom, boom, boom. They let all the brothers know that's a married sister. Stay away from her. If anybody got to get exposed or sanctioned, let that be done by the elders after they've investigated the situation. If we had a process like that, there would be a lot of less nonsense happening because everybody know that they're being supervised. Everybody know they're being supervised. You just can't go out here and date a sister. You got to go through the elders first. And now it's known that at this point in time, right now, Dr. Umar is getting to know this sister over here. Okay, that's it. And we don't allow a brother to get to know more than one sister at a time. We need some sort of system in place. Me personally, I would like it. You know why? Because if I dated a sister and I decided she wasn't for me, I can let the elders know life goes on, and the elders will see to it that she don't try to destroy me because she couldn't have me. So a system like that will benefit people
through that process because it might hurt. So we need a system. That same system not only would make sure that you're not slandered, but also that sister is nurtured and it's strengthened so that she can move on and repair herself, or vice versa if it happened to go the other way.
And there should be classes. Yes, indeed. And there should be classes. Even before you go out on a date, guess what? Elders got a 12-week class. Brothers is like, damn, I got to wait 12 weeks? Yeah, you got to wait 12 weeks. You're going to get a class on traditional African marriage systems. That's right. They're going to teach you how marriage works, how it was operated, the principles. You got to go through that. Women got to go through that. Brothers got to go through that. So you just ain't going out here to date. They're going to teach you how marriage works to make sure you're ready for what this is. Okay? And if you're a brother say you into polygamy, guess what? You might got another 12 weeks because you're going to have 2 wives. So you got to get trained on how to balance that feminine energy like that, how to deal with conflicts within your kingdom. So we gotta organize this. It needs to be institutionalized. That's the only way it's going to work. You can't go from this organization and then jump into an organized family system with a woman without having been trained and cultured into it. It ain't going to happen.
Okay, that was Dr. Umar. Like I said, say what you want to about the brother, and I don't agree with everything that this brother says, but what he says about us establishing institutions to build strong communities, strong marriages, and subsequently strong families, we really need to listen and take heed. This is our survival depends on this. This is why I don't take this lightly. And like I said, well, I understand the perspective of the caller, and I'm going to bring you back on in just a minute. I want you to understand that we are at a crucial and very critical point in our existence under racism, white supremacy, and we have to begin to find solutions. And yes, if you're able to find a spouse without the help of an elder or an arranged marriage, great, awesome for you. But wouldn't it be great that if you hit a hiccup in the road 5 years from now, with your spouse, that you have an elder that you can go to for counsel, and I mean sound counsel. I don't mean this hocus pocus marriage counseling bullcrap that they have from a westernized perspective. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about some legitimate, nitty gritty stuff that pertains to us as a people, that someone learns from common sense and mother wit. Not this stuff that somebody just got out of a textbook, and because they got a degree and a couple of letters behind their name, they think that now makes them suitable to become a so-called marriage counselor or anything of that nature. So we need to begin to erect institutions, infrastructure within our community that is going to build community. That's basically all there is to it. We have to begin to become autonomous and self-sufficient. Integration has not worked for us. Us waiting on our oppressor in terms of their institutions has not worked for us. It will not work for us. It is not for us. So what are we then going to do? We're going to sit around and wait for them to drive us into extinction? I think not. This is why we need to consider the very subject matter that we are talking about, the way forward for black marriages. Okay, caller, if you could go ahead and finish your thoughts in the next 3 minutes. Yes.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good, sir.
In my eyes, it won't work. It'll never work, especially where I live at. I've been a few places.
Okay, why are you saying because you're saying it never work? Can you please
never work? I'm gonna tell you why it never work. I'm gonna tell you why it never work. I understand where y'all live at, and you know we black, so it's the same everywhere, especially in America. But in my eyes, there's a little difference in even Florida and South Florida. South Florida is a different place from anywhere you're going to go probably in this world. And what I see is the same thing with white supremacy is done with other things. Once our identity was taken and we sought inclusion, to be included, once we sought that, we picked up all of their customs. So once we pick up their customs,
so what are you saying? Just to get this clear. So because we picked up their cultures, their customs, you're saying thereby we don't need to return to our people's customs. We need to basically keep their customs and go ahead and let them drive us into extinction and auto genocide through their institutions.
Hey, to the brother in
Florida.
Florida.
That's exactly what's happening.
To the brother in Florida.
What is the solution that you have? Because us continuing to function as we have is not a solution.
Sister Zion and to the caller, I hate to do this. I think there's some disconnect in communication between the two. I think what the caller, this is what I've gotten from the program. And I agree that, and I've said it, it's not going to work for the masses of our people, the 40 million estimated so-and-so. But from what I'm getting from the clips is that this can work in the quote-unquote conscious community. We can build networks. What I'm hearing, I think is a pretty good ideal, is like a matchmaking network among conscious people with elders in place. And so, no, all the masses are not going to participate in that. But 5% of them, 10% of them, you know what I'm saying? I think that, it is worth looking at. And I think some people would participate in it. I'm sitting here thinking of, man, they got these, what they're talking about could be turned into an online matchmaking site by region and what have you. So I do believe it could work on a smaller level, in the beginning, but for the masses it would not work because they exposed to too much corrupting programming from the media.
But I was gonna lead to that. What I was talking about was the masses. When you talk about the conscious community,
we're not talking about the masses though, because I've already established that. We're not talking about
even in the conscious community. I don't think that per se matchmaking is I think structure is the issue. I like the ideas. I think minds need to come together and talk about the ideas and the structure. But just saying you gonna be with them and this and that and fill out applications and all, even with the conscious community, I can't see it happening because corruption, deceit. I can't say I'm playing it out in my mind. It's gonna work for some people. Some people are gonna be all for that. I got daughters too, so I think about that too. I want all of them to be with an upstanding gentleman, a black man, somebody that knows not only what they're doing but where they come from. I want that for my daughters, but I can't see me saying, okay, that's who you're gonna be with. For one, that ain't what happened with me, and I don't think it was luck. I don't believe in luck. I believe that the Creator got everything planned and happening how it was supposed to happen, including slavery and everything else. It's happening how it's supposed to happen. But I agree with the sentiment of structure and things like that. But matchmaking and polygamy, we already got those forms in our communities, in the conscious communities at that, and they are a twisted form of the twisted form that we got from white people. So I don't see.
But that's what I'm saying, brother. Do you not understand that what I am saying is that because a lot of the bastardization of these institutions that already exist to some degree, and they really don't exist by and large, is because there is no structure. Therefore, I am advocating for structure so that these things can basically manifest themselves in a more proper manner. That's what I've been saying the whole time. So, and this is not for the masses. I've made this clear. Our way back is going to start with those of us who know better so that we do better. For those who don't want to do better, who don't believe in arranged marriage and who want to keep doing the hit or miss thing, then that's them. They can ride on off into extinction with the rest of this culture. This culture, by the way, this westernized culture is actually at extinction level. So they can ride off into extinction with the rest of this culture. But for those of us who know better, we need to begin to put structures in place so that we can do better. All right. I pray that this program has been beneficial and a blessing to you. We will probably revisit this again, especially as I happen upon more information. There is actually more information on the website, blacktalkradionetwork.com, Shifting Paradigms. I have a nice amount of information there for you to look into arranged marriage and polygyny a little bit closer. And please feel free to leave comments, ask questions. Remember, mediocrity hates greatness. Be great. Let them hate. Shalom. We'll be back next week. Shalom.